Welcome to Damn Good Movie Memories with your host, Brian Davis. This podcast is the cure for your long commute and super boring workday.
Acknowledge, please. Acknowledge, please. Where are you?
It's okay, Jack.
It's not okay. I got a small plane here. I don't know where it is.
Jack, a fly landed on your screen. Look, Jack, you've been landing planes for 13 years. Face it, you're burned out. You need this rest.
So Jack Chester's taking that lead.
Oh, this is great.
Renting a beach house.
4:15, this is it.
And getting the family ready for the best month of their lives.
Oh. Remember milk, please?
Here.
Thank you.
Quiet and secluded.
Come on, get out of here.
With outstanding facilities.
Sit down, relax. All right.
Perfectly situated.
Holy fuck.
In a friendly neighborhood.
What do you think of these?
Similar?
I just got them.
Who had them before you?
John Candy's gonna discover what a month in paradise
What? Open the door.
is all about. Summer rental.
Please. Oh, Mommy, make it better.
Hey there, it's Brian Davis, and for this week's movie, we're going to cover Summer Rental from 1985. The studio was Paramount Pictures. The release date was August 9th, 1985. The running time, 87 minutes with the rating of PG. Couldn't find the budget, but the box office took in $24.6 million, making it the 36th ranked movie of 1985. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 19% rotten from 16 reviews. Roger Ebert didn't bother to do a review, but we got a review from Janet Maslin from the New York Times, who wrote a review at the time. And here's her review. Summer Rental is a wan but good-natured hot weather comedy with a big debt to National Lampoon's Vacation, plus a few nice touches of its own. John Candy is on familiar territory as the clownish patriarch of an all-American suburban family, but Mr. Candy is fun to watch under any circumstances. Summer Rental, which was directed by Carl Reiner, starts out by showing Candy under extreme duress, living the kind of workday life that is terribly stressful. It then sends him on the kind of vacation that's even more so. As an air traffic controller named Jack Chester, Mr. Candy is advised he is in need of a rest when he tries to identify a fly on his computer screen as a low-flying plane. So he packs up his wife, his dog, and children and heads to Florida, where the family moves into what looks like a perfect beach house. It's not, but it wouldn't be fair to reveal what happens. Let's just say that the family's predicament is a lot like of the Three Bears. In any case, things take a number of bad turns, and Mr. Candy gets funnier as the situation grows increasingly dire. But the screenplay, by Jeremy Stevens and Mark Reisman, is largely uneventful, and it insists on winding up with a protracted sailing regatta, which is not a great thrill to watch on screen. The film doesn't even have an ending. Even after the regatta is won, it simply stops. Mr. Candy's big, blustery presence is the only thing really holding it together. Fortunately, the film also has Rip Torn and Richard Crenna in supporting roles. Mr. Crenna repeating something like his character in The Flamingo Kid, and Mr. Torn as much of a scene stealer as ever. This time, Mr. Torn speaks in a measured drawl and wears a bandana on his head as a restaurateur who operates his establishment in a true pirate tradition. Mr. Torn doesn't have much to do here, but he makes every moment count. And that's the end of her review. So in the 80s, there wasn't a more lovable comedic actor than John Candy, and sadly, he died far too young, and fans just missed out on future films he would have made. And I definitely saw this movie as a video rental, no pun intended, and while it wasn't going to win any awards, or even be considered as one of the top comedies ever made, it was a family-friendly movie that adults and kids alike could enjoy. And as Janet Maslin stated in a review, the plot is sort of thin and somewhat random at times, but because of John Candy, I don't think anyone minded. And I hate saying, it was of a simpler time, but when it came to watching movies and on TV and video rental, you didn't have as many options as you do today with streaming. So a movie like Summer Rental would be available, and you just enjoyed it for what it was instead of going through thousands of options like you have now. All right, let's get into the main cast, and essentially, it's one person here. It's John Candy, playing Jack Chester. I kind of covered John Candy's career up to this point during the last episode, which was Splash. But prior to this film, he was pretty much a character actor on every film that he was in. And with the exception of 1983's Going Berserk, which was full of SCTV alums, Summer Rental would be the first of his films that he was really a major star. So after Splash, he appeared in the very funny Brewster's Millions with Richard Pryor, also in 1985, before Summer Rental was even released. And also in 1985, he was in the movie Volunteers, again with Tom Hanks. All right, let's quickly get into the other cast, the co-stars. We have Karen Austin, who played John Candy's wife in the film. Cary Green plays his daughter, and of course she was in Goonies and Lucas. You have Joey Lawrence in his film debut, plays his son. Of course, he went on to be on Blossom, the TV show. The aforementioned Richard Crenna, of course, was in Rambo as Colonel Troutman. And then Rip Torn and John Larroquette. It's a great cast. The director was Carl Reiner, and Reiner was just Hollywood royalty by 1985. He was part of the early 60s comedy duo with Mel Brooks. Of course, those 2,000-year-old man bits. He was part of the hugely successful Dick Van Dyke Show, and he continued to appear in television and movies even today. And Reiner's directing career really started to take off in the late 1970s when he directed the 1977 comedy Oh God with George Burns. And then it was like he was Steve Martin's exclusive director, as his next films were all Steve Martin films. You had The Jerk, Dead Man Don't Wear Plaid, The Man with Two Brains, and All of Me with Lily Tomlin. All right, let's get into the film. The opening is a typical weekday morning, and we just hear the Chester family talking. We don't actually see them, and you get a view of them outside the house. And the oldest daughter, Jennifer, that's Cary Green, is asking her dad, Jack, John Candy, if he ever cut class as a kid. And of course, he says he did, and then she asks if he can sign a form for her. At this point, Jack is just trying to get out of the house, but before he can drive to work, his wife Sandy, and that's Karen Austin, chases after him, making sure he doesn't drink a cup of coffee he has in his hands. She instead wants him to drink tea because that's better for him. Jack's drive to work is just a mess. He's trying to eat a hard-boiled egg, which he fails miserably at, and he kind of eats it, but it's a crumpled mess. He then tries to eat another egg, but realizes it wasn't hard-boiled, and he cracks it all over the dashboard. All the while, he's trying to change the radio stations, but only gets these religious programs. And then he's also yelling at all the crazy drivers. You know, this is like a typical commute for folks like myself. The only difference was back then you didn't have people on their cell phones. So Jack finally gets to work, and a guy parks so close to him that he can't even open up his driver's side door. So he decides to climb out the window, which is funny, as you can imagine. As the review mentioned, Jack works as an air traffic controller, but he is totally burnt out after 13 years on the job, and it's really affecting his work, so much so that he almost causes a collision with two planes. Like the review said, he saw what he thought was a blip on the radar, but it was really a fly. So his boss gives him a mandatory 5-week paid vacation instead of firing him to see if the rest will do him some good. The family decides to go on a vacation at a resort in Florida, but they live in Atlanta, and so there are 3 kids, 2 of which, again, became pretty well known. You have Cary Green and Joey Lawrence, and then the youngest daughter, I don't recall her name, but she just has to pee, of course, prior to leaving the driveway, because why not? So they get to Citrus Grove, and the house they're staying at looks great, and it's literally on the beach. And Jack is wearing those flip-down sunglasses that baseball players used to wear in the 80s. But he has a kind of a tough time relaxing and winding down, and his neighbors are snobs, and he falls asleep on a beach chair, and of course he gets a painful sunburn. So that night, the family decides to go to a seafood restaurant that's really popular. And unfortunately, it's super crowded and everyone in the family's starving. Jack, of course, has his eyes set on lobster, and they're about to be seated, and then some guy just cuts ahead of them and seats his 5 additional guests ahead of Jack's family. Of course, Jack is understandably pissed. But the guy, who is named Al Pellet, played by Richard Crenna, he's like a local celebrity, as he's a champion sailor, so he gets to sit wherever he wants. To make matters worse, he's also an arrogant prick. Again, all Jack cares about at this point is getting his lobster, and of course that doesn't go as planned.
Why don't you look at the menu?
I don't want to see a menu. I know what we're having. We're having lobster.
Bravo.
Bravo. It's okay. I took care of everything. We're next.
Thanks, sweetie.
Nobody tells me I can't sit. Sit when I want to sit. We're next. Sit next.
No need for those, no. What do you say? Let's all have the lobster. Show us what you got. And Stan, no arguments. This dinner is on you. He thought he was going to say on me. Huh? Wait a minute.
Maybe they're just taking him for a walk.
Hey.
Ah, look at these beauties.
Hey. Don't serve those.
What are you doing?
These are my lobsters.
Your lobsters.
Yeah, you got my table, but you're not getting my lobsters.
Oh, and this is your table?
My table.
Oh, I see. This is your table. And these are your lobsters.
You got it.
I suppose this is your wife? Is this your tie?
Nope.
Is this your shirt? Is this your belt? Are these your shorts? Tut.
Hey, I have been driving all day long. We just get into town. I'm waiting out in line there for 2 hours, and you
just
come in
got
here.
into town.
Yeah.
Well, I've been in town for 30 years. 30 years. And every summer, you goddamn renters come down here, and you think you can take over the whole town? Well, you can't.
Huh?
Boil them.
Wait a minute, pal.
Signore, now we will have a table ready for you in 20 minutes.
Forget it. No. Come on, we're going to a good restaurant.
Good idea.
I'm hungry.
I know, sweetheart. You don't want to eat where there's rats. And I just found some rats in the back.
How disgusting.
Whoa, a whole nest of rats right in the back.
I apologize. The man was obviously a slob.
So the family end up at a dive owned by kind of a pirate sort of guy named Scully, who's played by the always awesome Rip Torn. As always, Torn, he's a scene stealer every film he's in, and this is no different. He recommends Scully's catch of the day, which he makes sounds like it's prepared like a gourmet dish, when in reality, it's Aunt Franny's frozen fish fingers. So Jack, in the meantime, is just miserable with his sunburn, but things are going to get even worse as his family has been in the wrong house the entire time as they misread their address. So the real owners of the house arrive home and inform them, hilariously by the way, that they are in the wrong house. The Chesters have to leave in the middle of the night, but not before Jack accidentally spills a huge bag of dog food all over the downstairs floor. The real property that they rented is actually a rundown shack, and the next door neighbor is in the middle of construction. Plus, their house is right in the middle of all the foot traffic on the beach for people heading to the beach. And once they do go to the beach, Jack makes his presence known like only he can.
Flies! We got flies! They followed me all the way from Atlanta. Gotcha!
Bananas? A little.
I called a plumber! He might be here this afternoon.
The landlord should pay for all repairs.
I can't reach him. They say he's in intensive care. Thank you. Come on, get out of here. Would you pass some milk, please?
Here.
Thank you. Yeah. Go. Right. Oh, what is this? What is this?
I don't have much of it. Honey, you're in your pajamas.
I know. Excuse me. Why are you people going through here? Yeah, perfect. Come on through. I'm Joe Public. Welcome to my beach. Ooh, boy. Ow. We should have brought shoes. Ow.
Daddy, I can't walk in it while my feet are burned.
Okay, just hop, honey. Just hop. Here, come on up on Daddy's shoulders. There you go. Here's my girl. Ooh, hold on. Ooh. Boy. Here we go. Just gotta find Mommy now. Ooh, excuse me. Ow! Oh, geez, I'm sorry. Really, I didn't mean...
Hey, that was my hand,
geez.
mister.
Sorry about that, really.
Oh.
Just saying, it's fine.
Oh!
Oh, Oh, it's a darn cooler. The thing broke off again. I'm waiting for a part from Minneapolis on it.
Holy moly! What's going on?
Oh, your foot, lift up your foot. My lands, you're getting sand in my lands.
If there's any damage to it, send the bill to 415 Beach Lane. All right?
You're damn right.
I don't think I heard it at all, though.
You big poser.
Hey, what you doing? That's my lunch.
Jamaica?
Hey, watch it. That's my hat.
Say, hey, hungry? Got chicken gone. Sure.
Oh, sorry, girls. Sorry, just ice water. Just ice water.
Hey, what are you
sorry.
watching?
Well, you should have put a cover on.
Yeah, look, don't you watch where you're walking?
No, watch it.
Well, you shouldn't be cooking on the beach. It's illegal, I think. Where's your mother? Sandy!
Jack!
Can you hear me calling you? I'm all over here. Okay, sweetheart, get out. Oh, am I glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here. Bobby wanted his draft blown up. You finish it?
Yeah, I'm breathing out anyway. What the heck?
Thank you.
So Jack is wearing a giant Chicago Blackhawks jersey the entire time at the day of the beach, and it's full of merry mix-ups, like him hitting the balls with a frisbee by his son. Then his son errantly tosses the frisbee next to a couple that's making out. Jack goes to retrieve the disc, and then the woman rolls over on Jack's hand while he's trying to grab the disc. So Jack and his son decide to play volleyball, which that's a disaster too. Jack crashes into the net, knocking it over. This, of course, embarrasses his son. So to make it up to him, Jack decides to take Bobby sailing. So because of the upcoming regatta race, all of the boats are rented, except for one, which of course is owned by the seafood shack guy, Scully. Jack and Bobby have a great time sailing until they run into Al Pellet again. Literally.
Watch out, Dad. We're heading straight toward him.
Okay, son. Smaller craft always have the right of way.
I don't think this guy has the same rules. Turn right, Dad.
How you doing? My knee. Oh.
Is it your bad one, Dad?
Yes. You idiot. You put a hole in my boat. Look at this.
It's you. Again. What? You hit my boat. You hit my boat. You put a hole in my boat.
Why didn't you give way?
Are you telling me how to sail? Are you telling me how to sail? I was on the starboard tack. I had the right of way. You little city rat.
I got a kid in the boat. You're the one who's supposed to move, dipshit.
Yeah, you big fart.
I'm gonna get you for this, Ritter. I am gonna get you for this. You're finished.
No, he's not. Tell him, Dad.
Wouldn't give him the satisfaction. Shit for brains.
So now it's raining heavily, so while Jack stays home with his leg in an air cast, Sandy and the kids decide to go to a movie theater. And what's playing there at the time, you might ask? Well, you have Uncommon Valor, which was a Gene Hackman movie, Footloose, and Dragon Slayer. Sandy realizes she has no money on her, so a guy waiting in line with his son named Don Moore, that's played by John Larroquette, he kindly pays for everyone. This reminds me of a story of my sister told on the very first episode when I think my mom and I and my sister were staying in line, and my mom didn't have enough money, I think, for food or candy or whatever it was, and someone helped us out. I didn't remember that, but my sister did. Anyway, the son and Jennifer hit it off since they're both listening to music on their Walkmans. Remember those? And in the meantime, Jack gets locked out of the house when he lets the dog outside from the pouring rain. So Don's a really nice guy and invites everyone to water ski in his boat, but Jack is still recovering from his hurt leg, so he stays at home. And then Jack runs into a very friendly neighbor named Vicky, played by Lois Hamilton. And this is one of the most memorable scenes of the movie, at least the one I always remembered, because Vicky invites Jack over for lemonade, and Jack forgets to close his front door. So everyone on the beach decides it's open season to use the Chester's bathroom. And then Jack gets more than he bargained for with Vicky.
Sure.
What do you think of these? Well, what do you think?
About what?
These.
Those?
Yeah. How do they look?
Similar?
No, I mean, do they look good? I just got them.
Who had them before you?
Nobody, silly. I just recently had them enlarged.
Oh, I see.
They cost $2,000. It was either these or a chainsaw for Ed.
Good choice.
You think so?
Oh, sure. I'd take those over a power tool any day.
Do they look like real breasts to you?
Well, you fooled me.
You don't think they're too big?
No. Would that be Ed?
Yeah, he's getting up from his nap.
You'll excuse me. I'm a dead man. Wait. Husband's coming and I blow a leg.
God damn it again. Put your top on.
I'm sorry, mister. I didn't see anything, I swear.
He's our next door neighbor.
I'm just renting here, that's all.
I'm sorry, mister, but she's boring the whole world with a new knockers.
Oh, be quiet, Ed. I just want his opinion.
She's so insecure. Last night she shoved them in the clerk's face at 7-Eleven. And relax, will you? They're beautiful. They look right and they feel right.
Yeah.
Mister, will you try them and tell them they feel right? As a favor to me.
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
Boy, those are so lifelike, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, Teddy, everybody likes them. Thanks, buddy, I owe you one.
What are neighbors for? I gotta go home now.
I gave up a power tool for those.
Well, Christmas is right around the corner. Yeah. $2,000 for the staff, huh? For both of them. Boy, that's a deal, I tell you. Those are fun for the whole family. I gotta tell my wife about it.
We'll give you the doctor's number. All right. Take care.
So keep in mind you never actually see any nudity, which is why it's rated PG. Anyway, Jack gets back to his place and everyone is using his house like it's a restaurant or a hotel.
You. Out.
Fuck off, buddy. I was here first.
Get the hell out of here now.
You get out of here, fella. I'm trying to watch the Smurfs.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You trying to watch the Smurfs?
Yeah.
Did you see the one where Papa Smurf took a crutch and smashed the shit out of a guy with a red hat? Did you see that one? You want to see that one?
Oh. Archie, you stink. Traitor.
I always used to crack up at the line, I'm trying to watch the Smurfs. When I was a kid, this was great. So Jack drowns his sorrows with Scully. You finally see Scully's hook hand, and they kind of play drunken darts. And why was it ever considered a bar game? Yes, let's throw sharp objects after we've been drinking. Super intelligent. Anyway, and then Scully decides to take Jack sailing.
That's a fine shot.
Okay, count them up.
What? Good. Hey. Hurry. Hurry. Who threw this one?
Blue, that's you.
All right, I win.
Hey, big winner there, Skullman. This is the life.
Aye. There's nothing like the sea to pick up your spirits, put a song in your heart.
I know what you mean. You must know a lot of ocean songs.
I do. Here's a CDT my mother taught me. Love, exciting and new. Come aboard. We're expecting ya. And love, life's sweetest reward. Let it flow. It flows back to you. The love boat. Soon we'll be making another run. The love boat.
So now Jack's best buddy is Scully, and Scully vows to make him an excellent sailor, which gives him purpose during his vacation. And this means sailing montages, because it's the 80s after all. So things are looking up for Jack until the owner of his rental house dies, and the new owner is now Al Pellet. Not surprisingly, Pellet is going to evict Jack's family, and they have 4 days to vacate the house. So Jack decides to fight back, and he challenges Pellet to a bet in which Jack competes with Pellet during the regatta. So the bet is, if Jack wins the regatta, he gets the house 2 more weeks rent-free. If Jack loses, he pays the remaining balance and leaves immediately. Of course, Pellet accepts because he's won the regatta 7 years in a row. So the only boat option that Jack has is Scully's boat. Unfortunately, it's run down, so it's time for another montage, and this time it's the fixer-upper montage. You gotta love the 80s. So since this is a feel-good comedy, you can sort of guess the outcome. No major surprises with this one. But, again, as I said, the ride is worth it because of John Candy. He was the best, and this is a quick movie that doesn't wear out its welcome. So I have one quick fun fact. The film was actually based on a summer holiday taken by Bernie Brillstein when he rented a house at the beach in Southern California. And so he was quoted as saying, "I have 5 children and I weigh 240 pounds," said Brillstein. "And being heavy in California is not a terrific thing. And being heavy on the beach is even worse." All right, it's great to have back one of our regular guests, and that is Eric Sinzak. He's going to talk about this kind of forgotten gem. But if you love John Candy and you love the 80s, I think this is a nice little one to watch on the weekend, and I think you should enjoy it. And we'll be back next week to talk about yet another random movie in my DVD collection. All right, we're back with Eric Sinzak. Welcome back, Eric.
Hey, thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me back on.
Absolutely. And this is going to be a fun one to talk about. I'm glad I found someone that actually, one, remembers this movie, and two, likes this movie. And that is Summer Rental with John Candy. And it's not that people dislike this one. I think it's more like it just kind of got forgotten a little bit. It's just like one of those cute comedies. How did you first see it?
Actually went to the theater with my parents to see this. I remember when we were kids. I think my dad and my mom, we just sort of, I think one Saturday afternoon, one of those Saturday afternoons, just popping into a matinee to see it. I remember that. And it was just a lot of fun. And it was, and like you said, it's kind of a forgotten gem of the 80s comedies. And, but yeah, definitely, I think it's a definite high point in John Candy's career. I loved everything he did, around this time. And John Candy's to me, is just a true, gem of comedy. And I think he's sorely missed in the comedy world.
Absolutely. Died way too young. And one notable thing about this movie, this is his first starring role, which is crazy.
Oh yeah. That's the thing. I think he was always sort of the sidekick to a lot of other stars, but seeing him be the leading guy, the leading man in this was so cool, because seeing him as the father figure, the lovable father figure in this, really set this comedy apart, I think, because coming from Second City, he was always playing the laughable, sort of second character, the side character that everybody sort of poked fun at. And he was like, oh, it's this guy over to the side that everybody's sort of making fun at. Or he always played somebody that didn't really sort of fit to the lead. And everybody just sort of never counted on that. But
right.
This movie, I think, really changed the nature of his career. Like you're saying, I really loved seeing that for him.
Absolutely, because from there, he still did side characters and things like that. But eventually, of course, Uncle Buck and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and things like that, that really, that was all him. And even the other ones like, Who's Harry Crumb and Armed Dangerous. Yeah, those are all fun movies.
Uncle Buck and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, certainly, those are two real good standout roles for him. But I always loved also The Great Outdoors. That's another one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff about this one that I particularly love. I lived in Georgia when I was a kid. So
okay. Yeah.
The setting for this is him as an air traffic controller from Atlanta taking a vacation, going down to the Gulf to get away from it all. It's like the stress of being an air traffic controller. Like, I got to break free of my job.
Yeah.
And then that's what we did, the same thing too. When we were kids, we got in the car. I remember going down to the Gulf of Mexico for a vacation, from Atlanta, and going down there to the beach. So it was a very similar, tale to part of my childhood. It was a lot of fun, but also I remember my dad being somewhat stressed out about his job and having to get away. So it was a little bit familiar territory for me.
Yeah, and you kind of called it. This is definitely like kind of a precursor to The Great Outdoors, because almost a similar thing happened. The only difference being, they were with the couple. They were Dan Aykroyd.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and Aykroyd and him played off each other so well in that film.
Exactly.
Yeah, just the great friction that built up between them in that movie was so fun. And Aykroyd's character was perfect in that movie.
He was. And in this movie, the friction comes from Richard Crenna, who plays Al Pellet. And so, how did you feel about him? And then, of course, how did you feel about Rip Torn?
Oh, wonderful characters, wonderful writing for both of those characters. And Rip Torn just was, it's just a story, just a character for him that's just, it's a role that is a little unexpected for Rip Torn, I think. And I love that fact because you really fall in love with that character because, it kind of comes out of left field. Mm-hmm. And I like that. And playing Scully. And he, I think that's kind of cool how he's able to sort of swoop in and save their vacation a little bit. That's kind of neat. Sort of doesn't want to do it, but he's like, yeah, I'm gonna make this all right, and by, he's like, all right, well, let's just go ahead and go put the barnacle back together, and we're gonna get on this boat. The barnacle, of course.
That's right.
Fantastic name for a boat, and and we're and then they turn it into a great. The end of it's just wonderful. I love it when he's teaching how to sail, and they're drunk and they're sitting there. And he throws up. It must be the oyster crackers,
right?
He pukes over the side of the boat, So it's really cool. He's kind of a neat little father figure to him right there, also. Trying to pull him out of his funk. Yeah,
it's almost like eventually when he did Dodgeball, Rip Torn, he's not as cantankerous in Summer Rental as he is in Dodgeball, but you can kind of see elements there.
Yeah, he's not quite Patches O'Houlihan.
Exactly.
but he is kind of gruff. He is kind of fun, but he is also he's lovable. So yeah, I did like that aspect of it. And Richard Crenna, like you were saying, you really love to hate Richard Crenna in this role. And I think that's really nice about it. And just he's just the perfect asshole in this movie.
He is, and it's almost totally different than his character in Rambo. Where he plays the commander.
Yeah, and I think that's a mark of a good actor, somebody who you can sell the character to the audience. If you can sell them to root for him or to hate him, then you've done your job. If you go home at the end of the day and look at it, and if the audience looks at it and say, well, they hated my character, well, they were supposed to, then you did your job.
Exactly. Absolutely. So what are some of your favorite scenes in here? Because it's funny because this movie is kind of the plot's kind of loose. It is really like a summer vacation. What scenes definitely stood out for you then and then rewatching it now?
I love it when he comes back to the house. He winds up going over because the neighbor has her check out her breasts.
That's right. Her implants.
Yeah, her implants. And then, of course, the husband wakes up and he thinks he's going to get killed, but he's like, quit. She's got all of everybody looking at her boobs.
Yeah.
And he's like, so he's like, okay. But he gets back to the house and he discovers half the beach is living in his house. So he's like, he goes ballistic and he screams, get out, get out. He starts smashing everything in sight with his crutch. Mm-hmm. And then he gets back into the bedroom. And the one fat ass guy is laying there smoking cigarettes, and he's like, "You get lost, buddy. I'm watching the Smurfs."
Right.
Did you see the one with Papa Smurf where he smashes a guy with a red hat? And he that scene is just that's one of my favorites. And of course the regatta. The end of it is really great, and then the fixing up the boat. There's just tons of scenes that are just really enjoyable. The whole thing is just it's fun the whole way through. Some of the stuff with I guess when the kids are just trying to distract him and go like do their own thing, like they're a little hokey, but are kind of silly, but. For the most part, the whole movie is really enjoyable. I love it the whole time.
Yeah, and speaking of the kids, they actually are two famous kid actors in Cary Green, who of course was in Lucas and the Goonies, and then Joey Lawrence, a really young Joey Lawrence.
And they're just very early roles. Now, did Cary Green do this before she did Goonies?
That's a good question. Let me quickly look at her IMDb page. It must have been around the same time. It looks like Goonies was first, then Summer Rental, then Lucas. I mean, talk about a nice three movie run.
Yeah, you could pretty much be done after just live on residuals for that.
And ironically, like that pretty much was it for her. She was in, a few TV movies and some series, but those 3 movies she's best known for, and those were pretty much what she did.
That's well, it's not a bad short run, but yeah.
And she may have gone to college or something like that too, because that happens a lot for like Natalie Portman did that.
Yeah, well, but and she's a big brain, and she got a bunch of. Yeah, she's continuing on, but
actually, the other one that did that was Jodie Foster. She was a child actress, then went to school, and then went back. So
yeah.
This movie kind of reminds me of One Crazy Summer too, with John Cusack. And I don't know if it's the boat race or not, but that's that summer atmosphere.
Yeah, I liked One Crazy Summer. I liked it not as much as this, but I did like it, and I thought it was fun, and I think. And that's the one at the end where they blow up the building, right? Where they the radio station.
Yeah, because he keeps trying to win the prize. Yeah, he keeps calling.
Yeah.
To win. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Bobcat Goldthwait's in that, right?
Oh yeah, he's great. He's dressed up like Godzilla, and yeah.
Yeah. Now I remember that. Yeah, it's been a while. I think I watched that just a few times, but it was a pretty funny movie. Yeah.
It's almost like the sequel because the same director to Better Off Dead. Because the very. Yeah. Off the wall type movie.
No.
We'll eventually get to that one.
That one, yeah. I mean, I can quote you that one from front to back, but
oh man, just the guys doing Howard Cosell,
Oh yeah, and if we do that episode, you have to give me $2.
Absolutely, I'll pay everyone $2. Otherwise, you'll come to my house.
I'll show up at your house. Yeah,
that's right. Well, that's a great one. All right, so you would definitely recommend this to someone, and it's kind of a lost gem because they don't make movies like this anymore at all.
No, and it's funny. I was watching flipping channels the other night, and I was thinking IFC ran it a few weeks ago. Yeah, and I was really happy about that. I was like, so they're still showing this. I'm really glad, and so it's out there and it's still getting played. So I'm real happy about that. See it out there still on the screen.
Absolutely, because John Candy should never be forgotten. He was awesome. Yep. Well, as always, thank you so much, Eric. I know you're going to be back on pretty soon.
Yeah, I hope so. Thanks, Brian.
Hey, this is Brian Davis, and you might know me from the Damn Good Movie Memories podcast. And now, get ready for the Bad Beat Show on thatmetalstation.com from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern every Wednesday night. I'm going to play some kick-ass hard rock inspired by the blues, because after all, the foundation of all things rock and metal is, of course, the blues. So join me every Wednesday night for the Bad Beat, because even when you lose, you still win. We are officially on Spotify now, so if you don't use iTunes, if you don't use the Podbean app, you can go to Spotify and get all of our past episodes. You can stream it on there, so if you're a Spotify user, you can go find Damn Good Movie... I can't even say my own podcast. Damn Good Movie Memories. Yes, I know what I'm talking about. I'm the host, right? Okay, so go to Spotify, look for Damn Good Movie Memories. You can stream all of that stuff. And yeah, so if you don't want to use iTunes, you don't want to use Podbean, you can use Spotify as well. All right, before we sign off, we do have t-shirts are available for sale. All you have to do is go to TeePublic, that's TeePublic.com, and you can get your very own Damn Good Movie Memories t-shirt. You can get all sizes, any gender, you can get whatever you want just at the tip of your fingers. So just go to TeePublic.com, look up Damn Good Movie Memories, and you can get your very own t-shirt. If you enjoy this podcast and are an iTunes user, please do the show a favor and head on over to the official iTunes page for Damn Good Movie Memories. Be sure to leave a rating and a review. This will allow the show to appear higher in the algorithm and spread the joy of this podcast to the masses. If you are not an iTunes user, you can still listen and subscribe on Podbean at damngoodmoviememories.podbean.com. Be sure to like us on Facebook under our Damn Good Movie Memories page. You can also listen to a limited number of episodes on YouTube. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and be sure to tune in next week for an all-new episode of Damn Good Movie Memories.
I am Dr. Fuck,
And I'm the Total Alcoholic.
And we are part of the Rock and Metal Combat Podcast.
We are the Rock and Metal Combat Podcast.
That's right. And the way you can check us out is we are on iTunes and also Podbean. And we forgot a review recently. I got this review right here. It says right here, it says, Rock and Metal Combat Podcast is the greatest podcast in the world, and it's my number one podcast, signed by Science. Now, and then Science also says... Science also said, my second favorite podcast is It Doesn't Matter, the rest suck. Rock and Metal Combat Podcast on iTunes and Podbean. Check it out.
Science! Are you ready for the hottest new podcast out there? Check out the Vieira Vault, featuring none other than Dr. Ralph Vieira. You will hear personal stories and personal songs from the vault. There ain't nothing else like it. The one, the only, the original Vieira Vault on Podbean, Stitcher.com, and iTunes.
Spreaker.
God damn it.
Hey, this is Stephen Michael from the Growing Up Rock Podcast. If you're like me and my co-host Sonny Hollywood Pooney, you grew up loving hard rock and metal music. Check out our podcast where we talk to bands and artists that help create the soundtrack to our lives, along with playing some killer new and old deep tracks of kick-ass guitar-driven rock and roll. Find us wherever you find your podcast to listen to. That's the Growing Up Rock Podcast, GrowinUprock. And feel free to hit us up at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Growing Up Rock. So sit back and crank it up.